It looks like another long and intense fire season is coming in California. 2020 was unprecedented. 4 million acres burned across California, and the state experienced its first ever fire tornado generated by the intense heat. The state has always had wildfires, but decades of fire suppression has left masses of dried out vegetation in wild spaces. And against the backdrop of an ever-increasing climate crisis, wildfires now explode onto the California landscape as monster blazes, which choke the air, reduce homes to ash, and have even blotted out the sun. Across the state, thousands of experienced firefighters, along with new recruits, are readying themselves for the long months ahead, including those from CAL FIRE, California's largest wildland firefighting agency. Crews have spent the winter and spring months checking equipment and brushing up on their skills. Specially trained pilots from air attack units, which have helicopters and planes designed for dropping water and retardant to slow down flames, conduct practice flights. Among those who will be tackling the blazes are the first ever all-female wildland firefighting crew of the California Conservation Corps. The CCC, as it's known, is America's oldest and largest conservation corps, carrying out fire protection, but also projects on coastal erosion and disaster response. Joining one of the Corps' 24 fire crews is no small undertaking. 33 people died in last year's fires in California, including 4 firefighters.
It's exciting. It is exciting, but it is a serious job. It is something that you kind of have to sit down with yourself and kind of think like, okay, even though we are safe, even though they give us like really good training, I have to kind of sit down and think, okay, I might not come back home, and if I'm gonna be okay with that. And I think everyone on the crew kind of thought about it a bit before, maybe not before joining, but as they got to the fires, they realized, okay, this is something that we kind of have to have in the back of our heads.
Inland Crew 5 is based in San Bernardino, around an hour from Los Angeles, and is made up of 14 women in their early 20s. They are Type 2 firefighters, carrying out the grueling and unglamorous backbone of firefighting work, all while carrying packs that weigh upwards of 40 pounds. While Type 1 firefighters attack the flames, Type 2 are responsible for cleaning up the fire line. This means using heavy tools to hack out vegetation, putting out flare-ups, and using chainsaws to chop up trees blocking routes. But as wildfires become more unpredictable, they can find themselves on the front lines, and so they must be ready to fight fires.
At first it felt like you're on a different planet. Everything was already burnt down, but we're in like ash, like we're walking in like a foot of ash. That was kind of eye-opening, because I was like, oh, I'm really doing this, you know?
The work is not for the faint of heart. The crew begins their shifts at 6 a.m, and the dirty, demanding work is at times in triple-digit heat. On active fires, working for 24 hours straight is not uncommon. New recruits must pass a pack test, completing a 3-mile walk in 45 minutes while wearing a 45-pound vest, the equivalent of carrying a 4-year-old child.
So any physical training we have is a lot of physical hikes. We call them PT hikes. So we go as a crew, like trying to go as hard as we can, but also communicating with each other of like who's slowing down, who's too fast, just to make sure we're together.
Part of Inland Crew 5's work is prescribed burns. This means when small fires are deliberately set and monitored by firefighters to reduce the kinds of dried out vegetation which become kindling for large blazes. The concept of an all-female crew came together about 3 years ago after state and federal agencies were having a hard time recruiting female firefighters. The US Fire Service, at nearly 96% male and 80% white, is not reflective of the country's population. The California Conservation Corps has attracted recruits from diverse backgrounds. Many crew members go on to join CAL FIRE or federal agencies like the US Forest Service.
I originally just came just to work outside, and I seen that they had an all-female fire crew, and I just was like, I want to go there. I want to do that. It shows a totally different side of the field, and it's amazing. It's amazing to be able to work with these ladies. It's amazing to come every day and just believe more and more in your future as you go on these fires, as you train and everything else. It's like, wow, I didn't think this was possible. Now I'm doing it.
The crew has attracted recruits with a broad range of skills. Some crew members have studied native plants and see firefighting as a necessary part of protecting California for future generations.
A lot of girls on the crew also really enjoy working with the natives and working to help fire reduction, so that way not everything burns because it's really hot here, and also just restoration, like I was saying, and our trails and stuff, making sure everything's still beautiful for generations to come.
The wildland firefighters of the California Conservation Corps, along with thousands of federal and state crews, have an increasingly important role in protecting communities and the environment from devastating wildfires. The world is getting hotter. By 2070, a third of people on the planet could be living in areas that make it difficult for the human body to cope, comparable to the hottest parts of the Sahara today. This means hotter, drier conditions across vast stretches of the world, priming landscapes for more extreme wildfires. So how do we stop the burning? In some places, it won't be possible, so nations must adapt, including constructing buildings out of fire-resistant materials, staking out defensible space around structures, increasing public safety awareness, and making sure people have solid evacuation plans in place. But number one is doing all we can to drive a dramatic decline in the still rising greenhouse gas emissions which are cooking the planet. While some risk is already baked in from decades of emissions pumped into the atmosphere, there is still much that can be done to avoid the worst.